Hi, I'm Kathy, and today I'm going to share a few tips of the smartphone with you. Well, when I was 12 years old, I used to own a Brownie, and boy, I took pictures of everything. And those are the days we had to bring our camera in and get the film developed. Then eventually I resorted to the 35 millimeter, and I had the tripods, and found that was kind of heavy to bring around. And when the smartphone came out, I thought, gee, this is wonderful. It takes good pictures, and you can put it in your pocket, your purse, and it's always available. So that's what I use pretty much these days to take my pictures. So I think one of the first tips I'd like to share with you is holding your camera steady. That makes such a difference. I see a lot of people out there, and they'll extend their arms like this, and then they'll take the other hand and peck at it. And while they're pecking, that arm jumps down, and guess what? Their picture is not clear. So if you just have a good solid stance and take your elbows and put them down by your side and hold your camera steady before you click on it, you'll surely have a much better looking picture. Okay, composition. Composition, what's composition? Well, it's how we compose our picture. How can we get the elements of our photos to attract the viewer's eye. And there is a rule of thirds that artists came up with many years ago. It's where you have thirds. Your frame is divided into thirds, and then it's divided by horizontal and vertical lines. And right at these points right here is where you want to put your focus. More about that later. This is also referred to as the grid on the smartphone, and I'll show you where that is later. So here's a couple of pictures I'd like to share with you. Here, following the rule of thirds, the barn is more to the left, and it kind of attracts the viewer's eyes moving that way. Here, I'm focusing more on the right-hand side, following that line down, and that's your sunflower, which is attracted to this part of the flower. Here is a little picture of my animal. Again, I'm shifted to the left with the eye. It's more of a focus. And then it's a picture of the cove, La Jolla Cove, and I'm drawing in this part right here where it's drawing the viewer's eye in. This also is a wonderful place to swim, one of my favorite spots. So again, let's review that. This is called the grid, and we want to focus in on one of these points. And this particular grid is found on the smartphone. So you can set that on your phone, and you can barely see it because it's almost invisible, but you can see it if you want to work more with your composition. So you go to your settings, which is right there in one of your applications, and then right underneath the settings is the camera, and then you set your grid. And this automatically comes up on your camera, and it stays that way. So when you get ready to take a picture, you can work more with your composition because it's now set on your smartphone, and you can follow those lines if you choose to do so. Okay, now our camera is set up in by default in automatic focus, but we can change that to manual focus with just a simple technique here. When you find your point of interest and you put your finger on it, this box comes on, and it's AEAF lock that goes into manual focus. And then you can move this arrow by the sun here up and down. That changes it to light or dark. That's your exposure. And then when you're finished with this, you can just hit it the side and you're automatically will go back into automatic focus. All right, light. Well, without light, we wouldn't have anything to take a picture of. So it's important that we study a little bit about light so that we understand what's going to show in our picture. So I would have you go outside and observe the light at different times of day because it's constantly changing. And in the middle of the day, you have that harsh light. It's very hard on the eyes. It creates shadows. But in the latter part of the day, when the sun is down, we have a better photo because we don't have that harsh sun. So let's talk about the front light. That's the light that comes right at us. Usually the photographer is standing in front of us. That's the front light. Then we have light from the side. Sometimes landscapes are taken that way. That causes your shadows. And then your backlight, which is good for your silhouette shots. So when is the best time to take a picture? Well, over the years, artists and photographers alike have studied what makes a good composition. And they've came up with the golden hour, or it's called the magic hour. And when is that time? Well, it's first when the sun rises, the first hour after sunrise. That's when this light is low in the ground. You don't have those harsh shadows. And then the last hour after sunset. Again, the light is low in the ground. A lot of professional photographers will get up at the crack of dawn. They'll take their pictures and they'll go have a nap. And later on, when the sun is down in the sky, they'll take their pictures. Another great time to take a picture is your bright overcast lighting. The sun is not shining out. It's hidden, it's overcast, and it's a bright day. That's good for close-ups. Or if maybe you can find a place in the shade where your light is even. But start studying the time of day, how that light is constantly changing so that you can come up with the best hour to take a picture. Now, one of my favorite things I like to do is to take pictures of flowers. And I'm going to share a couple of tools with you. The smartphone takes really good pictures of flowers, especially close-ups. You can bring it in tight. But one thing I like to do when I take a picture of a flower is I like to have a background. Here's a piece of velvet. Here's a piece of black silk that I just got at a fabric store. And here's a picture of a photo that I took with the background is being the black silk. And again, my picture is over to the side. So another thing you can do with these pictures, you can get them developed over at one of the large pharmacy stores that sells everything. They usually have a Photoshop. And you can take your smartphone in there, and they'll people that work there will help you load your smartphone up, and you can just have pictures developed in less than an hour. You can also do that online. So when I get my picture developed, I'll buy this stationery at a craft store, and this is just an envelope with a notepad, and then I'll take a picture. I took a picture of a flower, and then I'll paste that on there, and this makes a great little note to send to your friends. They always appreciate getting little notes in the mail because so much of our communication these days are done online. Here's another picture I took. So that's another way to take to use your smartphone, is to take pictures of flowers. Find that flower that talks to you, or one that you grew, and send it to your friends. It really does make a difference in your friend's life. But last but not least, I'd like to mention a little bit about family photography. I don't know how many of you have pictures of your family photos, but they are just so grounding and so so wonderful to have in your home. It's like, I belong to a clan, especially in the world we live in today. It's just so confusing. Just having a picture of your family means emotional support. Here's a picture of my family. It was taken over 60 years ago, but I'm not going to tell you which one of those people are me. I had 10 brothers and sisters, and I would say that every one of the brothers and sisters have that picture in their home, and that'll stay there until the last picture goes, because it's so important and it means so much. But it doesn't necessarily have to be a portrait, formal. You can do it ad lib, when you just have to have the family together and then take your picture. But if you're going to, what I usually do at Christmas time is when the family's together, and so then I would suggest that you plan, and then plan again, because if you don't plan, it's not going to happen. And then consider your background. Are you going to have a nature background? Are you going to go down to the beach? Is your background going to be cluttered? Always look at your background, because that says a lot about your portrait. And at Christmas time, I have it set up where one year I did use my smartphone, and we filmed inside. And you have to be real careful with the lighting with your cell phone. It doesn't pick up a lot of light when you're indoors. So you could go to an office supply place and you can buy tripods. You can also get the LED lighting, and that will help a tremendous amount. But before you do it, check out your background. And then in the yard's another place. Nature's always a beautiful place to take a picture. And then you might consider, well, if you're going to be at Christmas time, you might want to wear red hats, and then or clothes that you want to look alike. But check out your background and plan what you're going to wear, and make sure everybody knows that at a certain time, on a certain day, you're going to take this picture. And then it's always special to have the picture enlarged and give that to each of the family members. But remember, spontaneous is just as good as a portrait. You just have to get your family together. Well, that's all the tips I'm going to share with you today, and I hope this improves your picture taking. But most of all, continue to take pictures. They're fun. If you're going to send them on the internet or make copies of your pictures, it's a really fun thing to do. It adds joy to your life, joy to your friend's life. So keep snapping. Thank you.